So, what did you think? Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
All right, that leads us over to the most important question that we ask on this show. Vince, where does Birdy from 1984, one of Cage's very first roles, by the way, we haven't really talked about that. He's 19 years old. Where does it rate on your Cageometer?
Maybe the last two movies have me feeling a different way, but I've gone back and forth. I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay.
I think this is a good movie. There's a lot, and like you said, I think this is a film that you could really dive into and examine. I just think I don't personally want to do that. I think it's incredible that they were able to adapt this into a film off the novel. It's longer than it should have been, but at the same time, like you said, I think they needed to develop the characters because they're very complex characters. So I don't want to crap on this movie too much because I think there is a really good story here, and I think there's a lot of symbolism here that we missed. We talked about a lot, but I think there's a lot that we missed.
Yeah,
and I feel like the novel's probably. I mean, obviously, it's a really good novel. It ended up winning awards, so I just don't think this is a movie for everybody. I did enjoy it. It did feel a little long, especially getting towards the end, but not a great film. I don't want to be too harsh to it because, like I said, I think there's a lot that this movie was trying to do that we just don't have the time or interest in exploring. So, unlike the last two films, this movie actually had some depth to it. So, I want to give it a 5. As far as Cage's performance, again, this is one of his first roles, and he didn't really do a very good job with it. And he even admits to that based off of the quick facts that you told us. I'd say performance-wise, give him a 3, maybe a 4. I'll say 3. He just didn't bring...
That's harsh, man.
I just feel like he didn't bring any emotion to the film. And I think his character really needed to be kind of that emotional anchor. I don't know. Yeah. And it was just like a lot of he just pulled me out of the movie a lot, especially in scenes where I felt like they were trying to make a deep emotional moment. And I think that's kind of what soured the movie for me a little bit. And he's 19 years old, so I'm not trying to shit on him either. I just don't think he had the skills. I would love to see him do a role like this now, because I think he could tap into those emotions and bring that depth like he's done in Pig and Mandy and a couple of these other films. Dream Scenario, Adaptation. I think this movie was too much for him to take on at such an early role. And it's not again, it's not his fault. He even admits he couldn't tap into the emotions of the character. Yeah, and he just pulled me out of some moments, like that whole end monologue, and it's like it should be like you said, he's swinging for the fences and he's struck out. And again, 19-year-old kid who has no experience, you're gonna strike out. It's just a lot of emotional weight for a young actor to try to carry on his own. So 3, 4, fuck it, I'll give him a 4. 3 is probably a little too harsh. I'll bump it to a 4. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Okay. I'll bump it to a 4 because I think a 3 is a little too harsh for the young kid.
Nigel, where does Birdy rate on your Cageometer?
I think that's very, very harsh. Vince's review is a little harsh. I'm gonna say 8. Feels like an 8 to me
for the film.
I mean. Wow. Setting aside my personal feelings, this is not a movie I want to rewatch. Like I didn't personally like it that much, but I think it's a very well made film.
Yeah. And
I think a lot of that is the story does a lot of the heavy lifting. I think it would probably be, without having read the book, I feel like the book would be better told in book form.
Mm-hmm.
But just from the way that it's filmed is very competent, very well put together. I think it tackles subject matter of not just like the war, but also society and stuff in a way that you don't see in anything else. Like it's like I never in a million years would have watched this movie on my own. Like there's no way I would have like sat down to pick this film to watch unless we were watching it. But it has that art house quality of it's a unique story. It's told pretty well. Makes you think. It's complicated. It's not. Doesn't hold your hand with a lot of it, and it tackles stuff in a mature and uncomfortable way, but still remains sympathetic. I think because that's part like. I mean, it's easy to make jokes about it. It's like, oh, the guy wants to have sex with birds or whatever, but like that's just like a very reductive breakdown of it, and it's more of like somehow he comes across as still sympathetic despite I don't being that weird and inhuman, I guess, in a way. So I mean, I feel like it deserves some praise for it. I think it's a little too long. I think part of it is if they had to cut stuff out of a story adaptation, out of a novel adaptation, like I don't know how much shorter you can make it. I don't know. It just feels like that whole second act, there's a lot of character stuff, but it doesn't feel like we needed that much of it to get to the payoff of the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's like keeping it from a higher score for it. But yeah, I mean, it's the Peter Gabriel soundtrack is very dreamy and weird. It kind of fits, he's kind of a weirdo. Genesis is really weird and stuff, but it just sort of has that ethereal, otherworldly feel to it. And the story's kind of like this guy's like it's weird. We keep saying weird, or I keep saying weird, but I don't know how you present the story. It feels like this could have been a much worse movie just based on the synopsis of what we got. But I mean, I really appreciate it as a piece of art. I think it's I'm not going to say unfairly forgotten about, but because it's not a movie for everybody and stuff. But I feel like it's a very artistic film, and I'm glad that somebody made it. Not that I'd recommend it to anybody, but I just think it's a pretty well done movie. And I'm giving it. There's stuff that I think we're missing, and there's lots of symbolism, and I think you could go back and re-examine it, like you could with any good work of literature. This definitely felt like a book that I would read in like high school American lit. It feels like something where it's like, how do you tackle something? I guess that originally it was like the World War II veterans, and I think even then it may have worked a little better because they understood even less about post-traumatic stress from back then. I mean, World War I was really the first exposure to it, and then they really didn't have any, they struggled with dealing with it. And then of course you had World War II, which was even more horrific. And then setting it in the Vietnam War, I think, was very good from a contemporary standpoint because you would have had people watching the movie who literally went through that, and dealing with it. And it's kind of the same story of like, the society sort of takes the choices away from some of these people and then puts them into a horrific, hellacious situation. And sometimes people don't come back from it because they can't. And, that works just as well in Vietnam as it would for World War II, and probably better in some ways. There's a lot of people, it's like complete senselessness of that war that destroyed so many lives. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. It's a good movie. It's just not a feel-good movie. It's definitely unique and weird, but I feel like it's a pretty well-made movie. Yeah. That's my layman's review of it. I appreciate it. It's like good art. Good art doesn't, you don't have to love it. You just have to feel something and get something from it, I guess.
True.
There's a lot there in this to get from that. Cage's performance, I think he did really well, especially for being a 19-year-old and one of the first, this is a really hard role to, I guess, be the first leading man. Like, was this the first leading role he had? I guess it was Valley Girl first. Valley Girl, yeah. Huge departure for between the characters between the two. And he did swing for the fences, like you said. It is kind of like that Oscar moment from Wayne's World where it's like, he doesn't quite hit it. He's trying. Yeah, but it definitely comes across as like really melodramatic a bit and stuff. But I think it's like a 7 for me performance wise, and I will give him a lot of credit for being that young. I didn't, and trying to portray a character as complicated as this, not as complicated as Birdy. I think Matthew Modine did a way better job. I think given a relative inexperience as an actor and then having to play a role like this that he doesn't really get a lot of credit for, I don't think I think this is an underrated performance of his.
I mean, if you think about the character development, or not the character development, but like his development as an actor, just from Valley Girl to this, it's pretty amazing if you really think about it.
And I think we've mentioned it before that I feel like this is where he shines, this type of a movie, just kind of a more artistic drama than the over the top action stuff he got thrust into not that long after this. Or just, the insanity roles from things like Vampire's Kiss, it's like he became the guy who's just goofy and does crazy goofy shit. But it's like, it's like this was almost at a crossroads right at the start of his career where he could have veered more into doing like serious drama stuff because he had the chops for it. He just needed a little bit more time to practice and perfect it, or swing in the direction that he went, which is kind of into leading man stardom, but kind of based more on almost the meme status of his performances.
Yeah, he kind of went both directions. I feel like he did some serious stuff and he did the wacky stuff at the same time.
Yeah. So,
and then he got pigeonholed. Then he got pigeonholed as an action star after The Rock for 15 years, and then now he's slowly coming back to this kind of movie. But
even that, like, we haven't watched all of his stuff, but we've watched a lot of it enough to where you can see a lot of the way he brings physicality to this role that he, like we mentioned a lot, does it in a lot of his roles. And to be doing that at that age, that early on in his career, shows that he has quite a lot of talent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was just like you said, Vince. I think it's unfortunate that he felt that he couldn't tap into those emotions because that's a really complicated character to play when you're, a teenager, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, it's not his fault. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to tap into those. I mean, this is a very complex story, and I wouldn't have been able to tap into those emotions at 19, like trying to understand and bring that to him. And then it's just, it fell flat. That's why it fell flat for me.
Yeah. But again, it doesn't hit in all the scenes. Like there's definitely scenes where it pulls you out and stuff. Yeah. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed his performance. I bought into him as the character of Al. So, general praise.
All right. On my Cageometer, I waffled between a 6 and a 7. And I'm still kind of waffling. I think I'm going to stick with a 6. And the only reason that I'm sticking with a 6 is because I feel like it was confusing. Like a lot of times I was just kind of like, what am I supposed to be feeling right now? And like you said, good art, you don't necessarily have to understand in order to feel something. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't really understand what I'm supposed to get in a lot of the parts of the film. The sexual overtones of like him being a teenager and not knowing how to express himself with his sexuality and stuff was like made sense to me, but it also was like, what are we getting out of this? Like, it's just really strange. And I felt that a lot throughout the movie of just like the bird motif throughout can mean a lot of different things, but I just feel like it's just kind of confusing from an audience standpoint. But like you said, great. Like the film was put together really, really well, beautifully shot. Peter Gabriel's score brought a lot to it. I felt like the acting was great, especially Matthew Modine. Matthew Modine is the center of this film, even though he's kind of almost like a secondary character, really, to Cage. But what he brought to it was like, I don't even think Matthew Modine knew exactly what was going on in the character's head, but he was able to convey it in a way to where it felt like he really knew who he was. Even if the rest of the world didn't understand him, he knew who he was and couldn't understand why nobody else could get him.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, it's such a complex, weird character. And such a hard thing for an actor to wrap their head around, but Matthew Modine crushed it. I don't feel like Cage did quite as much. And I feel like he's sort of supposed to be this character who's just baffled by him, but also fascinated by him, by Birdy, the whole film. So I guess moving over to Cage, like I also waffled on him a little bit, but I think I'm going to stick with a 6. And it's mostly because of the last part of the film where I just feel like he was really just crocodile tearing it up and trying to swing for the fences so hard that I just feel like it was a little too much. I feel like he was great in the pre-Vietnam portion of the film. The young teenager Cage or Al, I thought he was great in those parts, especially when he's like trying to figure out Birdy and like I don't want to be a pigeon. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want him to see me as one of them. Like, I felt like he was really great in those parts. And then I feel like he was a little over the top, especially when he starts to have his mental break.
Mm-hmm.
And like we talked about, I think he wasn't really sure how to tap into that at that point. I don't think he had gone through anything emotionally scarring enough to know what those emotions feel like. And I think he has since gone through some things that he can tap into now. You know, like Cage obviously has had an entire life since this. But as a 19-year-old, it's pretty impressive. But at the same time, I feel like that last part kind of pulled me out.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it's a great film. I don't know what to make of it. Like I said in the opening, like, what exactly are we getting out of this? Is it just a coming of age story? Is it trying to show an outsider and how they deal with, you know, being thrust into situations that are uncomfortable for them and how they can just become detached completely from society, and especially the war part of it, which, you know, that's one thing I think that's kind of lost in this, that probably is explored a lot more in the book, is their experiences in war. I feel like there's like 4 flashes to Vietnam and they're all about 30 seconds each.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
so I think the book is probably a much better medium for this story.
Yeah.
You know, trying to condense it down into a 2-hour movie is got to be a hell of a lift for a couple of screenwriters who never went on to do anything after that, which is sad because obviously they were able to adapt a book that a lot of people said was unadaptable into a 2-hour film.
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive. But, you know, really my rating comes down to what was I supposed to get out of this, you know? Emotionally, I felt a lot of things, but I don't know how to put those things into words, you know, like, you know, trying to make sense of it all, I guess, is the hard part for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, good movie. Probably won't never watch it again. Probably won't recommend it unless people like challenging art house films that they don't really quite get. Yeah. I don't know if we're supposed to get it, honestly.
That's what I liked about it. I felt like it was just, it's just giving you the story. You interpret it how you want, but I felt like none of what it was giving was done poorly.
No.
In my opinion. That's why I liked it so much. I mean, I don't know. I say I liked it, but I didn't really like it because it's the same thing. You know, I didn't have that emotional connection to it, but I felt like there was a lot of stuff there to chew on, dissect, and dig into, sort of on the viewer to do.
It's kind of like Pig. Like, I don't want to watch Pig again.
Yeah.
Like, I loved it. I thought it was an amazing film, but like, it makes me very sad and very uncomfortable, and I don't want to watch it again. But that's not to say that it wasn't a masterpiece and a beautifully done film. It's kind of the same thing with this, where it's like, I liked it. I don't know. I don't understand it. But it was really well done. But I'll probably never watch it again.
and that's where a lot of my problems lie with this movie is with a movie like Pig or Joe or any of these other kind of dark movies that Cage has done. You understand what the theme is. Like the theme of Pig is grief. And that's why it's so uncomfortable. It's because it forces you to confront your own grief through Rob.
Yeah.
It's
movie, confusing at times.
What am I supposed to like? Am I supposed to confront my feelings for birds and how I want to fuck them? Like, and it just kind of fell apart in the third act for me too.
I think it's like, you know, everybody has their thing, and everybody kind of feels like an outsider because they really love this thing. For me, it was like, you know, I loved music and I loved film and all that kind of stuff as a kid, and I didn't really feel like there was a outlet for me like that I could make money with until later on when I realized, oh no, there's totally a way that I can make money in this. And I think that's, you know, Birdy didn't get the chance to do that because he was sent off to Vietnam. And, you know, I'm sure after the events of the story, he was able to carve out. He could have been a professor in college or something, you know, could have been all sorts of different things. But yeah, you don't really get a chance to learn yourself at the age of 18. And, you know, I still feel like you're still trying to figure out who the fuck you are at that age.
Oh, yeah.
And then to be thrust into a situation where you're sent across the planet to kill people for no really good reason. Just not to impart my own feelings on Vietnam, but
I think that's the general opinion about Vietnam. It's not a war that's been reflected upon kindly through time. But yeah, I just want to say one last thing. Nigel gave Weatherman a 5, but gave this film an 8.
Yeah, as time goes on, I feel worse about the Weatherman score. Yeah,
I feel like one of us had to say it.
I want to acknowledge that. I do feel worse about my score on Weatherman.
That was early on.
Yeah, it was
show.
early.
I almost feel like I would love to just redo the whole first season.
Yeah, I think
we're too far gone for that.
Yeah, we're way too far gone.
Yeah. Anyways, it's a complex film. It's a very interesting artistic expression of a lot of different thoughts. Really well done, but confusing to me at points. Yeah. Anyways, moving on.